G'day, AJ Mahara here. In this video, I want to respond to a comment that I think is really important, and I hope will maybe open some more discussion on the channel in terms of the very nature of what the commenter is speaking about, and if you can relate to it. So I'm just finding the comment, which I thought I had up here. So let me just make it bigger, because the older you get, the smaller all the type gets. Anyway, so yeah, a person named Chris commented on the video I did, borderline social media lies, manipulation, and then some, right? So in the comment, the commenter Chris says, you and many others tack on untreated, but for me, so I guess untreated BPD. The commenter says, but for me, that's not at all helpful. Mine was treated and had been for some time before I met them, and was still very, very awful to me. Monkey branched me for someone else early, and I would take it that means rather quickly, not sure. Ghosted and stonewalled, you name it, yet still pursued me and was very expectant of me. So I guess had a lot of demands, maybe. I'm trying to understand. And then the commenter continues, I never would have dropped my boundaries like that for anyone else, and I hurt myself so much. Well, let me first say, Chris, I'm really sorry to hear that, you got very hurt and that you feel like you hurt yourself so much. That's taking some personal responsibility for that you did drop your boundaries, and that you were trusting someone was communicating something much different than obviously what was communicated or meant, or not sure here. But I'm really sorry to hear that you not only hurt yourself, right? You were also hurt, but you're taking your personal responsibility for what, like you wouldn't have dropped your boundaries that much if you'd have known what this person really meant when they described this to you. So this is why I think this is, all comments are interesting, but I think this is particularly something that I haven't really been able to, and it's still hard to speak to on this channel in broad stroke ways about BPD for people. And I like to keep it real here to help you heal. I like to keep it accurate. And so when Chris said you and many others, the tack that we take, so I'll say the tack that I take, I'll just speak for myself on my own channel, of saying that I guess from I gleaned from what this commenter said was that if people with BPD are untreated, then all of what I've said, many other people say in different ways, and some inaccurately and many more accurately, about people with BPD didn't help this person at all, because they said they had been what the commenter said here was mine, meaning the person with BPD that they were in a relationship with or were dating. Mine was treated and had been for some time. I met them and was still very, very, but they, it was for some time before that the commenter met the person with BPD, but they were still really awful to him or to her, because the name Chris, I don't know, but they were still really awful to this person. Well, here's the thing, okay? Not only am I continually saying on this channel accurately that borderline personality disorder is not, all people diagnosed with BPD are not the same. I continue to say that. The other issue here that this commenter raises that is very important, I think, to address, is that beyond the fact that all people with BPD are not the same, what does it mean when they've been treated? What is, untreated versus treated? What is significant treatment or some treatment or really significant treatment? The kind of terms that I use here, because there's no way to get any more specific about it, and there's no one size fits all people with BPD about it, whether they're untreated, have had some treatment, significant treatment, Because the only two things that are, well, even not easier, but more clearer to define, is a person who's untreated with BPD, who doesn't even maybe have a diagnosis or maybe knows they have it, but they don't accept it and they're in denial. Or at the extreme other end, people who actually do heal and recover from BPD. So they haven't been just through some, a little bit, or significant, or a lot, but they've been through treatment and therapy. Usually it's going to be, in some cases I've seen out there quoted with, DBT is not a recovery modality, but with DBT and other modalities and the rest of it, 5 years maybe if somebody's really aware. But really it's going to be, according to Dr. John Gunderson, who was talking about specifically what I think is the best modality of treatment for people with BPD, which is transference-focused psychotherapy. Dr. John Gunderson is quoted as saying, for recovery from borderline personality, it takes on average, it takes 8 to 16 years. So, more people than not who are going to get fully recovered from BPD, which means, yes, they can go on and relate and have healthy relationships and be as if they didn't have BPD. Let me just put it that way. And so that is definitely going to take a lot of years and is the most treatment anybody can get and engage with. So there's that. So then the problem is the measurement. What does it mean if you hear that, like, if somebody's untreated with BPD, you can expect a lot of all of this in various different ways from different people with BPD, because they're not all the same at all. And they're not all, some people have, maybe 5 traits. Some people have like 6 or 7 traits. Some people have all 9 traits. What does all that mean? Well, it gets kind of arbitrary sounding, but in general, so it takes 5 traits, which is very arbitrary too, to be diagnosed, 5 of 9 to be diagnosed with BPD. Okay, well, so one person with BPD, many people with BPD have, let's say, the first trait to the 5th trait. Not so much the rest of the traits. Then you're going to have a whole bunch of people with BPD. You're going to have the other traits that those people don't have. So 4 of the other traits those people don't have plus 1 in common. And then they're going to have, so with this scenario of the limitation, and again, there's a lot of problems with that. From the American Psychiatric Association of this definition of borderline personality, which is problematic in and of itself, like so much from the APA, 5 of 9 traits means it's a mix and match deal. So client or patient A could have these 5 traits, but not the other 4. And then somebody could have like a different mix of 5, but not 3 of the other 4 of the. So within borderline personality, sticking with the APA whole thing about it, because really I don't know that is the best way to put it or the best lens to see it through in terms of, certainly people in mental health working with people. And then what are people who are in relationships with people, or you're finding it out later, what's best for you? So it might not be all the same answer there. So with the fact that it only takes 5 traits out of 9 to be diagnosed with BPD and not the same 5 traits for everybody, it ends up being, last I heard, 250, last I read actually, 250 symptom or trait combinations. So symptomology varies greatly across the spectrum of people who get diagnosed or maybe aren't diagnosed but really have all the patterns of certain traits of BPD. So it's really hard in a video to possibly hit on every single individual with BPD. So I just want to say the commenter, if something about, I don't know when you started watching videos, if you've been watching my videos, I can only speak for myself, right, on this channel. I'm sorry if somehow you thought that if you checked into videos and you heard what this person said, then you thought that it was going to be okay, right? Well, here's the thing. This brings up such an important issue, and I'm sorry this person, has a lot of pain and really had a horrible experience. because the person that they were with said that they had BPD, or they don't know if that means they still had it, or they thought they were recovered from it, but they were treated, and quite a while before this person met the person. So how is anybody supposed to know what that means? Because here's the other thing, treatment. So if somebody's untreated, then there's still all these different trait combinations, symptom combinations, over 256 of them. So not everybody with BPD has 256 of them. Not everybody with BPD nobody with BPD has 256 of them. And then, so with all that difference, some people are going to show, there's some common theme patterns, but not everybody with BPD holds to the most common theme patterns. So then the other challenge is, what does a person with BPD, or who's had BPD and recovered, like myself, what does it mean when I say healed and recovered, which I'm not going to get into details about here, but I'm going to, maybe I have to talk more about it, we'll see. But the thing is, so what does that mean versus when somebody tells you that they were treated long time, you just meet them and they go, treated a long time ago for BPD. So did they say, I'm fine now? Did they say, I'm recovered? This is what I hope the comment on my other video will comment to this video and share a little bit more about. And if you can relate to this, and you've been with somebody with BPD, and maybe they told you that they knew they had a diagnosis of BPD, and that they've had 3 years or 5 years or significant treatment or a lot of treatment, or been in therapy for a long time, all these different phrases and communications to different people, like the commenter Chris, what does it mean? Because this is why I hope Chris will respond to this video if you see it. What did they actually say to you? Like, I still have BPD, but I've had years of therapy, or I had BPD and I had lots of treatment for years, a long time ago, and I don't have it anymore. Okay, which is possible, but obviously wasn't the case for this commenter with the person that they were dating or relating to or in a relationship with obviously still BPD, according to what they said happened to them. So, and I believe their experience. So here's the thing, when people go to treatment, when they have BPD and they get in therapy, some can go for years and really not improve, really not find themselves, really not make strides at peeling back the layers of defense, finding the lost authentic self, having that self reparented, which changes everything. It does. It brings people from what BPD really is, no matter if you listen to the APA or not. What BPD really is can be healed and recovered from. So that takes, as Dr. John Gunderson, in the methodology that he co-created with Dr. Frank Yeomans, transference-focused psychotherapy, Dr. John Gunderson is quoted as saying that for full recovery from BPD can, on average, take 8 to 16 years. I've seen other things out there, not with transference-focused psychotherapy, but that may say that, itchy nose. Some people may be able to recover within 5 years. Well, who knows? Because it's likely to take 8 to 10 to 12 years. It's likely to be more years than less years. But the thing is, some people can go to therapy with BPD or anything else for that matter. Some codependents as well could go to therapy for 10 years. And nobody needs 10 years worth of therapy to recover from codependency and your relationship, right? Breakup. But some people don't put in the work. Some people start and stop therapy. Some people just aren't willing to, or aren't ready yet, or don't feel capable of coping with and processing the pain. Because there's always pain in every recovery process. And in BPD, it's daunting and an extreme amount of pain because of what BPD really is. So call it mental illness, the actual adverse childhood experience that is more to the point, doesn't matter. It's still something that people can heal and recover from. So can you relate to this commenter? Have you ever had anybody tell you that they have BPD but they've been treated and they're good to go now, and then it turned out like they weren't, and you went through what people are going through, because it sounds like what this commenter went through was what traditionally untreated people with BPD are like. So it depends if a person is telling you this. What do they mean? How are you supposed to figure that out? So please wade in here if you have suggestions, if you have experience, if somebody that you're with or were with really had done some significant recovery from BPD, was in treatment for a while. What changed? How did you know? Or what didn't change? And are you together now? Or was it another BPD relationship breakup? Because the thing is, with 5 out of 9 traits and with 256 symptoms in there, depending which 5 traits, so not 256 symptoms per one person with BPD, but overall of people with BPD, various different symptomology and patterns that they will have from what is usually adverse childhood experience and what is the causation of BPD. And so it's very not one size fits all. And even though a lot of people online all over the place always say, my borderline this, my borderline that, and people come along, me too, mine too, exact same thing. Realize that while there are common patterns that people with BPD will present, many, not all, in the same ways, there's common patterns of experience for non-borderline, more often than not codependence. But the thing is, many people leave out, in part, I'm just saying this is a part of it, right? You leave out the similarities between your borderline and everybody else's borderline as people speak out there online. And I'm not here to say that's not true, that the similarities, it can be often similarities. But people are ignoring the similarities of the dynamics of these relationships, these unhealthy bonds, because people with codependency have not all the same patterns either, every single one, but patterns. And patterns, codependent patterns interacting with borderline personality patterns, create dynamics of patterns and then even going to seem more similar. But so not to go on too long here, and just to say that I think what this commenter shares is really important. It really matters. I'm, again, really sorry to hear of the pain that they have been through and the recovery journey they now have ahead of them. And so what does it mean if, in fact, you were told anything in the beginning of a relationship, that a person, they told you they have BPD, that they were in therapy then, or that they've been in therapy before, and what? Because you see, the thing about treatment is, like, again, I want to reiterate, many people with BPD are never going to get treatment. They're going to remain untreated. And then there's a whole scope of the fact that they're really not probably going to change a lot in terms of their ability to relate healthily, or to communicate, or to be mutual reciprocal, and in a healthy adult space, right? Relationship and relational wise. So when people say they've been treated and they have BPD, you really need to ask a lot of questions, because what does that mean? And then you need to go really, really slow to see what is the evidence that you're going to see that either they didn't engage the treatment, they haven't had enough treatment, they might have lied straight up to you about having a lot of treatment a long time ago, now they're fine. How can you parse this for yourself? And if you have any experience with this, or you're wondering this right now because you might have a similar experience to this commenter, please share here. And please share if you have anything that you'd like to ask about or understand more about, or share your experience when it comes to what does treatment for BPD mean, how much treatment is more than a little bit, how much is a lot, how much treatment is significant, what makes 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years of treatment significant. Well, it's not just a person with BPD going to therapy. Like, that's a good start. But many people go to therapy on and off over the course of many years with BPD, never engage it, not find the right fit of therapist or modality, and aren't getting anywhere. That happens, unfortunately, all too often for people. And some people stick with a therapist that isn't a good fit for them, or doesn't frankly know what they're doing or talking about because they're not expert in this area. Or the person with BPD is maybe too dependent and the process just never really gets into the engaged, deep work that the hope is that treatment will provide people with BPD. So, and then sometimes the modality isn't a fit. Sometimes the therapist isn't a fit. So a person could say to you, in all honesty, I have BPD, but I've been treated for it, had therapy for X amount of years ago, leaving you with the impression that they're fine now, or stating that outright and maybe not being aware of the fact that they're not fine. Because this commenter describes somebody who said they've been well treated or treated for quite a while, a long time before the commenter met the person. Yeah, I have to always realize that when you meet somebody and when they do share something like that, then you need to slow down and vet that even more, because you need to see it for yourself in all kinds of circumstances and in all kinds of ways in actual relating in life. Because some people with BPD could lie about that as easily as many people with BPD lie about a lot of things, because they're ostensibly lying to themselves and believing their lies. And the point is, that's confusion. That's really an in-depth thing that can happen for people with BPD, but this is not people with BPD who are well treated. So we're stuck in this terminology of like, and I do the best I can here, but I can't. It's too broad, too wide, too huge a scope, with all those trait combinations or symptom combinations based on which 5 traits out of 9, or does somebody have 9 out of 9 traits, where are they at? What do they mean when they say they've been treated or they've gone to therapy for how long and whatever? And how do you know if they're lying to you or lying to themselves and lying to you? How do you know if they really engaged the treatment? These are all bigger issues than just getting a person to treatment and thinking it will save your relationship, or meeting a person who says they've had treatment and going through what this commenter went through. So anyways, I want to just like to encourage people also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a thumbs up, please, if the video was helpful in any way. Click the notification bell and subscribe. Please support the channel with your thumbs up, because it helps, or thumbs down. It helps in the algorithm. And please engage with the channel to support the channel. No, it's not about me. It's not about my ego. It's about, please don't be as a lot of people have been being. And, okay, but I'm just asking you, can you hit the like button more when you're watching the videos? Because if you are feeling helped by my videos, although this commenter maybe didn't feel like, but I did the best I could, and if they were watching me, and I hope they're still watching so they might comment on this video, there's no way to say, like, when I work with clients, I can be a lot more specific. I can answer a lot more questions. I can help people at the beginning of relationships if they've been told what this commenter was told. But then maybe they don't know, to seek out a therapist at that point. But yeah, so keep liking the videos. Please don't just watch a video that informs you a little bit or gives you food for thought or something and not give a like, because if my videos are helping you, then you putting a like on the video, commenting, interacting with the channel sometimes, or often if you like, helps the channel in the algorithm so other people can find the channel that might resonate with me and the information here. So anyway, I need to say that a little more often, I think. Really encouraging you to do that for the algorithm, not my ego. I'm fine either way, but the algorithm. So the other thing is, again, just to reiterate, I'd really like to hear from people. If you've had this commenter's experience, I hope Chris, that the person that commented, will comment on this video. Tell us a little bit more about what did they say, what did it mean, what did you think it meant, or what did they actually say? Because there are people out there who could be in treatment for BPD, going to therapy for years, and never getting to the heart of the matter, and not really changing and not growing, and even though they're in therapy. So just the mere act of being in therapy doesn't make for a process. It's going to lead to change and some healing, and or all the way to recovery, fully healed and recovered from BPD, because so many people with BPD aren't engaging it, or like I said, it's a bad modality fit, it's a bad client therapist fit, or they're working with somebody who doesn't understand BPD, or they're just obfuscating the whole process, but still going back because they get validated or they get heard, and they might be talking about all the most insignificant things in terms of talking about what just happened right now or an argument with somebody yesterday, but never to fruition of resolving anything about it. So people with BPD being in treatment sounds great, but not all people with BPD in treatment are getting anywhere. So there's that reality too. I hate to tell people, because how are you going to suss all this out and understand? It's very complicated. And if you've already been in a relationship and you've been really hurt by somebody, it's time for you to get out. Go full no contact. Take care of yourself. I'm out here to work with people in the healing, any aspect of this, but healing and recovery from the relationship breakup, or if you're in a relationship and or you're just starting one and you're wondering because if you've caught on to this, like maybe the commenter had and knew what BPD was, and I don't know, but might have, and then gets all this other treatment. Well, I'm the type of person, when I work with people anyways, you can reach out to me at any point during this. It doesn't have to be only after a relationship breakup. And I can, with clients, I can answer even more questions than I answer on the channel, and I can answer them more accurately because I'm finding out about people in way more specific details and the dynamics of relationships. So keep that in mind in case you're interested in working with me. And in the meantime, if you can relate to what this commenter said, or something I've said in the video about the fact that just because you get a person to BPD, and that the commenter had a different situation, but just because you can fight so hard to get a person that you love, care about, and are confused and being hurt by with borderline personality or suspected BPD, you can try hard to get them diagnosed, you can try hard to get them in therapy. But even when they're in therapy, in treatment, it doesn't mean they're engaging. It doesn't mean they're getting anywhere. Lots of people, unfortunately, with BPD go to DBT therapy, for example, which is a good place to start, not a recovery modality, and they really make good progress, and they really start learning and growing, and then they'd be best off to, after DBT, go into a modality of treatment with somebody like myself. I work in transference-focused psychotherapy, which isn't just limited to people with BPD, but in that area for sure. But so many people with BPD are going to, quote, some kind of therapy, treatment, may well have done for years and not gotten anywhere. So there's that possibility as well. And you gotta really take care of yourself out there, because just getting that person in your life, whatever relationship type, into therapy may or may not yield anything. And really, getting someone into therapy to try to save a relationship, especially in significant other relationships, it rarely, if ever, works. So if you can relate to what this commenter went through, if you can relate to what I'm saying, trying to delineate more and parse it more for you, that somebody could go to treatment, be in therapy while having BPD, and never get to the work that's required to make changes and strides and to relate better and hopefully to get all the way to fully healed and recovered. A lot of people are in treatment, but there's nothing really happening that's substantial to healing or progressing through borderline personality, the relational communication difficulties, the emotional triggers, emotional dysregulation, etc. So I wonder if people have thought about that. And again, I want to underscore, really low percentage chance, if any, for most people, that if you're in a relationship with somebody with BPD right now and you get them to finally go to treatment, you can drag the horse to water. Can't make them drink, right? What if you drag the horse to water, so to speak, and you see them take a little bit of water? So you get the borderline into therapy, they're there kind of, right? Like the horse having a little drink of water, but is it going to be enough water? Is the person really engaging the treatment, or are they just going to some kind of treatment? And then, of course, like I said, I'll reiterate again, this commenter, what he or she experienced, that person might have abjectly lied. So there's always that on the table as well, unfortunately. Not always, but you never know when it is on the table or not. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it gave you food for thought. Please don't forget to hit the like button and maybe comment and share if you can relate to the commenter, or if you have more questions about how you're supposed to know, like if they're in therapy, great, but like how are you supposed to know if they're changing? And by the way, I can do my best if you ask questions here, or if you want to hear more about this. But the real truth is, if you want to book a session with me, we can really do a deep dive on that. And I can really answer your questions specifically. Because again, in video here, and with some people, to some commenters, I'm only going to be able to go so far because there's so much I don't know. And videos are not a replacement for therapy. So I hope that was helpful. Like I said, food for thought. Take care.